he knew it was autumn again, because Dog came running into the house, bringing the windy, cold smell of autumn with him. In every black dog hair, he carried autumn. Leaves caught in his dark ears, dropping from his white chest and off his tail. Dog smelled just like autumn. Martin sat up in bed and reached down with one small hand. Dog barked and showed a long length of pink wet tongue, which he passed over and along the back of Martin's hand. Dog licked him like a lollipop. "Because of the salt on my skin," declared Martin, as Dog jumped up on the bed. "Oh, get down," warned Martin. "Mum doesn't like you up here." Dog dropped his ears. "Well," Martin softened, "just for a little while then." Dog warmed Martin's small body with his dog warmness. Martin loved the clean smell of Dog and the pile of colourful leaves on the blanket. He didn't really care if Mum was angry. "What was it like outside today, Dog? Oh, tell me." Lying there, Dog would tell him. Lying there, Martin would know what autumn was like. Like in the old days, before sickness had put him in bed. His only contact with autumn now was his dog. His leafy fur, the only hint of autumn gone by. His autumn emissary. "Where did you go today, Dog?" But Dog didn't have to tell him. He knew. Over a tall hill, leaving footprints in the tall hills of leaves, down to where the kids ran shouting on bikes and roller skates in the park. That's where Dog ran, barking out his doggy delight. And down into the town, where rain had fallen dark earlier, and mud was under car wheels, down between the feet of weekend shoppers. That's where Dog went. And wherever Dog went, then Martin could go too. Because Dog would always tell him by the touch, feel, the wet, dry, or weather smell of his coat. And lying there, holding Dog, Martin would send his mind out to run with him, to re-walk each step of Dog's way, through fields, over the running creek, across the white tombstones of the graveyard, into the woods, over the meadows. Martin could go now through his emissary. Mother's voice sounded downstairs. Her quick, angry walking came up the steps. Martin pushed. "Get down, Dog!" Dog vanished under the bed just before the bedroom door opened and Mum looked in, blue eyes blinking. She carried a tray of sandwiches and fruit juice. "Is Dog here?" she demanded. Dog answered with a few bumps of his tail against the floor. Mum set the tray down. "Oh, that Dog is more trouble. Always upsetting things and digging places. He was in Mrs. Linlay's garden this morning and dug a big hole. Miss Lee is really very mad." "Oh." Martin held his breath. There was a silence under the bed. Dog knew when to be quiet. "And it's not the first time," said Mum. "This is the third hole he's made this week." "Well, maybe he's looking for something." "Something? He's just too curious. He can't keep his little black nose out of anything. Always looking." There was a hairy movement of tail under the bed. Mum couldn't stop smiling. "Well," she ended, "if he doesn't stop digging in yards, I'll have to keep him in and not let him run." Martin opened his mouth wide. "Oh, no, Mum, don't do that, please. Then I wouldn't know anything. He tells me." Mum's voice softened. "Does he tell you, son?" Sure. He goes around and comes back and tells me what happens. He tells me everything. Mum's hand was softly touching his head now. I'm glad he tells you. I'm glad you have him. They both sat a moment, thinking how boring the last year would have been without Dog. Only 2 more months, thought Martin, of being in bed, like the doctor said, and I'll be up again. Here, Dog. Martin locked the special collar around Dog's neck. It was a note, painted on a metal square. My name is Dog. Will you visit my owner who is sick? Please follow me. And the sign worked. Dog carried it into the world every day. Will you let him out, Mum? Yes, if he's good and stops his digging. He'll stop, won't you, Dog? The dog barked. You could hear Dog barking far down the street and away, going to find visitors. Martin had fever, and his eyes felt hot in his head as he sat, listening, sending his mind running along with his dog. Faster, faster. Yesterday, Dog had brought Mrs. Soxiong from Jodai Street with a storybook for a present. The day before, Dog had brought Mr. Zhongwu, the jeweler, and sure enough, he had arrived to pay Martin a little visit. Now, Martin heard Dog running through the warm afternoon sun, barking, running, barking again. Footsteps came following after Dog. Somebody rang the downstairs bell. Softly, Mum answered the door. Voices talked. Dog raced upstairs, jumped on his bed. Martin looked up excitedly, his face smiling to see who'd come to visit this time. Maybe Mrs. Pyong Tek, or Mr. Kim K, Miss Shang Bum So, or... The visitor walked upstairs, talking to Mum. It was a young woman's voice, talking with a laugh in it. The door opened. Martin had company. 4 days passed, and Dog did his job. Reported to Martin each morning, afternoon, and evening the temperature, leaf colours, rain levels, and, most important of all, he brought visitors. Miss Shung Shang Chong arrived on Saturday. She was the young, laughing, pretty schoolteacher with the soft brown hair and a nice way of walking. She lived in the big house in Park Street. It was her 3rd visit in a month, because Martin could not come to school. On Sunday, it was Reverend Hu Ha Huang. On Monday, Miss Chang Bop and Mr. High Tech. And to each of them, Martin explained about his dog, how in spring he smelled like wild flowers and fresh earth. In summer, he was baked warm, sun-crisp like bread. In autumn, now, a treasure of golden leaves hidden in his fur for Martin to explore. Dog demonstrated this to the visitors by rolling over onto his back, waiting to be explored. Then, one morning, Mum told Martin about Mrs. Shung, the new teacher who was so pretty and young and laughed. She was dead. Killed in a car accident in Munhuaidong. Martin held on to his dog, remembering Mrs. Shong, thinking of the way she smiled, thinking of her bright eyes, her soft chestnut hair, her quick walk, her nice stories about castles and people. So, now she was dead. She wasn't going to laugh or tell stories anymore. That's all there was to it. She was dead. What do they do in the graveyard, Mum? Under the ground. Nothing. You mean they just lay there? You should say, lie there, corrected Mum. Lie there, then. That's all? Yes, said Mum. That's all they do. That doesn't sound like much fun. Oh, Martin, it's not supposed to be fun. But why don't they get up and walk around sometimes if they get tired of lying there? I think you've said enough now, said Mum. I just wanted to know. Well, now you know. Sometimes I think God is pretty silly. Martin! Martin was silent. You'd think he'd treat people better than throw dirt on their faces and tell them to lay still forever. You'd think he'd find a better way. What if I told Dog to play dead dog? He can do it for a little while, sure, but then he gets bored of it and shakes his tail or blinks his eyes or jumps off the bed and walks around. I bet those graveyard people do the same. Huh, Dog? Dog barked. That's enough, said Mum loudly. I don't like talk like that. The autumn continued. Dog ran across forests, over the creek, exploring through the graveyard, as was his custom, and into town and around and back, missing nothing. In mid-October, Dog began to act strangely. He couldn't seem to find anybody to come visit Martin. Nobody seemed to pay attention to his sign anymore. Dog came home 7 days without bringing one visitor. Martin was deeply sad about it. Mum explained, well, everybody's so busy, Martin, that's all. People have lots to worry about besides dogs and signs. Yeah, said Martin, I guess so. But there was more to it than that. Dog had a strange look in his eye, as if he wasn't really trying to find visitors, or didn't care. Something Martin couldn't understand. Maybe Dog was sick? Well, forget the visitors. As long as he had Dog, everything was fine. And then one day, Dog ran out and didn't come back at all. Martin waited quietly at first, then nervously, then anxiously. At supper time, he heard Mum and Dad call, "Dog! Here, Dog!" But nothing happened. Dog didn't answer. There was no sound of his soft feet outside the house. No loud barking in the cold night air. Nothing. Dog was gone. Dog wouldn't be coming home. Ever. The leaves fell past the window. Martin lay down on his pillow, slowly, feeling a pain deep in his chest. The world seemed dark now. There was no more autumn, because there was no dog to bring it into the house. And there would be no winter either, because there were no dog feet to bring in the snow. No more seasons. No more time. The Emissary had been lost. Probably by a car, or lost, or stolen, and there was no more time. Crying, Martin turned his face to his pillow. He had no contact with the world. Martin's world was dead. In 3 days, the Halloween pumpkins were laying broken in garbage cans, masks were burnt in fires, the monsters and ghosts and witches were all put away until next year. Halloween was sad, unhappy, uninteresting. It had simply been another boring evening. That was all. Martin stared at the ceiling for the first 3 days of November, watching sunlight and moonlight shine across it. Days got shorter, darker earlier. He could see that through his window. The trees were naked. The autumn wind was colder in temperature, but it was just an empty show outside his window. Nothing more. He wasn't interested. During the day, Martin read books about people that were all dead and gone. He listened each day, but he didn't hear the one sound he wanted to hear. Friday night came. His parents were going out to the movies. They'd be back at 11 o'clock. Mrs. Tang Thung from next door would come over for a while until Martin got sleepy again. Then she would go home. Mum and Dad kissed him goodnight and walked out of the house into the cool autumn air. He heard their footsteps go down the street. Mrs. Tung came upstairs, stayed a few minutes, then turned off the lights and walked back across the street. Silence, then. Martin just lay there and watched the stars moving slowly across the sky. It was a clear evening, just like when he and Dog used to run together, across town, across the sleeping graveyard, across the creek, through the grass, down the green streets, chasing their dreams. Now, it was after 9 o'clock. If only Dog would come home, bringing some of the world with him. A leaf, or a flower, or just the wind in his hair. If only Dog would come home. And then, way off somewhere, there was a sound. Martin sat up, shaking. Starlight was in his small eyes. He threw off his blankets, listening. There, again, was the sound. It was so small, the sound, like it was miles and miles away. It was the dreamy sound of a dog barking. It was the sound of a dog coming fast across the night fields, down dark streets, the sound of a dog running and letting his breath out into the night, the sound of a dog circling and running. It came and went, the sound, it came forward and went away, as if Dog was being walked on a chain by someone, as if Dog was running and somebody was walking home with him. Martin felt hot, suddenly, sweaty and excited, nervous. The faraway barking continued for 5 minutes, growing louder and louder. Dog, come home, dog boy. Okay, Dog, where have you been? Oh, Dog. Another 5 minutes, nearer and nearer, and Martin kept saying the dog's name over and over again. Bad dog, running away and leaving him alone for all these days. Bad dog, good dog, Come home, old dog, hurry home and tell me about the world. Tears fell onto his blankets. Nearer now, very much, just up the street, barking dog. Martin held his breath, the sound of dog feet in the dry leaves down the road, and now, right outside his house, barking, 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 dog! Barking at the door. Martin called out. Should he run down and let dog in, or should he wait for Mum and Dad to come home? Wait, no, yes, he should wait, but it would be terrible if, while he waited, dog ran away again. No, he would go down and open the door, and his dog would jump into his arms again. Good dog! He started to move off his bed when he heard a new sound. The door opened downstairs. Somebody was kind enough to open the door for Dog. Dog had a visitor with him, of course. Gudodek, or perhaps Mrs. Myung Mung. The door opened and closed, and Dog came racing upstairs, barking up on the bed. Oh, Dog, where have you been? What have you done all this week? Martin laughed and cried all at once. He grabbed at Dog and hugged him. Then he stopped, laughing and crying. Stopped, suddenly. He just stared at Dog, with wide, surprised eyes. The smell coming from Dog's fur was different. It was a smell of dirt. Dead dirt. Dirt that smelled like unhealthy, decaying things under the ground. Stinking, smelly earth. Pieces of this awful soil fell off Dog's feet and something else. A small, white piece of skin. Was it skin? Was it? Was it? What kind of message was this from Dog? What did it mean? The smell, the awful cemetery dirt. Dog was a bad dog, always digging where he shouldn't dig. But Dog was a good dog, always making friends so easily. Dog liked everybody. He brought them home with him. And now, a new visitor was coming up the stairs. Slowly, pulling one foot after the other. Painfully, slowly, slowly, slowly coming up. Dog, Dog, where have you been? Yelled Martin. A piece of dark dirt dropped from Dog's chest. The door to the bedroom moved in. Martin had company. Before I head off today, I want to give an absolutely massive thank you to my beautiful, glorious patrons, Lady Nevermore, Skulk Queen, Catherine Gordon, The Curator, and Stephen Stevens.